Welcome to Belkin's Growth Podcast, hosted by Michael Maximoff, co-founder and managing partner at Belkin's. Today's guest is Brian Minick, the Chief Operating Officer at ZeroBounce. ZeroBounce is a Florida-based email validation company, developing a SaaS product that reduces and eliminates invalid, abuse, and inactive email addresses. ZeroBounce was around for 5 years and has a team of 35 professionals servicing 7,500 clients. Michael and Brian talk about what is an email deliverability and why it's important to track the bounce rate of your marketing campaign. During the second part of the episode, they touch base on how the pandemic affects Brian's business and what they do to support the local community in Florida. Enjoy listening.
So what is the bounce in terms of zero bounce terminology?
So when we think about email deliverability, there's a lot of things that come into consideration. Bounce rate is one of them. Abuse rate is another part of that. So those are the people that are actually marking you as spam as well. And so when we think about deliverability, there's many aspects that are super important. And probably the most important is getting into inbox. So inbox versus spam is so important. And I stress that all the time to a lot of our customers. And ZeroBounce is a company, we help validate your email list. We help you with data hygiene. And the reason behind it and why it's so important is because you want to achieve inbox. So if I have 1 million records on my database, and let's just say 20 or 30% of them are old and outdated, which is the standard on a per year basis, you should expect about 20 to 30% of your email list to churn. If a lot of those emails start bouncing, there's two types of bounces. There's a hard bounce and a soft bounce. A hard bounce is the recipient does not exist. The email box that you're sending to does not exist, and therefore the mail server rejected it. Now, when that happens, there's a lot of feedback loops that start to happen, and there's a lot of things that people don't see. So there's mail servers, the providers of mail, Gmail, AOL, and there's many of these, but those providers use intelligence from their platform to service their other customers. So when you also have spam filters in front of that, like Barracuda, Spam House, there's a lot of those other companies. Again, this is all seamless to users. They don't even understand it's happening, but their job is to deliver messages of high quality to your inbox and put the ones that are spam into spam. That's their job. So when you have a high bounce rate, and for us, a high bounce rate, anything over 2% bounce rate is bad. And you really want to have your list looked at. And when you think about that, the bounce rate being so important, and what you're also not seeing is that your provider is suppressing data behind the scenes. So when you bounce a lot of emails, your data provider or your mail provider, if you're using like a MailChimp, whoever it might be, they actually start to suppress those emails, and it just overall affects the quality of your campaign. And the quality and how many people get into and receive your message is so important. And it's a percentage. Everything's percentages. And so what we help people do is really remove the bounce rate or lower the bounce rate and remove bad contacts. So that's what we're able to help with. But, the thing that I tell people a lot of times and seems to resonate well, but it takes explanation and thought, is if I have 1 million records and 20 to 30% of those bounce, the other 70% probably landed in spam. Right. Because they're looking at that from a global perspective. These guys are talking to each other. Gmail runs about 20 to 40% of email in the universe here right now. And so when a lot of stuff happens on a Gmail account, they'll actually move the message on the other recipients that haven't seen it yet because they're just trying to be intelligent. So, it's really important to have the right quality list. And even if you think you've done it the right way, and many people do, and I applaud them for that, you cannot ignore churn, right? So if you're dealing with businesses, there's churn and it's just natural. So those bounces are just important to take a look at and get them cleaned up.
I did a webinar on email deliverability like a month ago, and quality of the list and the bounce rate was one of top 5 of the most important things that you need to consider while you do your email marketing. Doesn't matter if it's inbound or outbound. You always need to clean the list. You always need to take care of your deliverability from the standpoint that you can just use the tool. And, I know, my team, I've been using ZeroBounce for the last few years. And I know that, it takes like a few clicks, right? Just to run the list and see, what's your deliverability is in terms of, what's the bounce rate is. So from the bounce standpoint, so there are the hard bounce. And so as you mentioned, so the hard bounce is when the email doesn't exist, right? Are there any other types of the hard bounce emails, or that's the only one? So I received that kind of email back when I send an email saying that, hey, this email or the recipient email doesn't exist. And that's kind of the only message that resonates with the hard bounce.
There's a couple other hard bounces, but that's the most common one. The other one could be one of two things, which is the content of your message. It was just flagged as spam. It's to the point where the mail server, it might have a virus. I'm not saying it's you, but just in general, it might have an attachment that this mail server didn't like, or it might have some keywords that the mail server just doesn't want to have running through the system. That's one. And
is it still a hard bounce, or it counts as a soft bounce? Or
some of it just depends on how bad that content might be.
Okay.
It might not ever make it. Soft bounces are kind of accepted. They hit the mail server looks at them and will typically reject them. Those can be like an attachment is too large. Let's say you try to send a movie file, and that movie file is 100 megabytes, but the mailbox only accepts 15 megabytes. That would come back as a soft bounce, and it would say your message was not delivered. Attachment size is too large. That's one side. Where maybe the mailbox is full, it's out of storage, and it's a free email provider. They're not going to they don't just hand out storage. It's just not what happens. So that will bounce as well as a soft bounce.
So these are the soft bounces. And so basically, just to sum up, so the hard bounce is where the email doesn't exist. So it's just, the poor list, right? So if you have a lot of hard bounce, it means that you didn't kind of clean the list, or you just, acquired the list from some sort of like a provider and they didn't do the good job, right? So it doesn't exist. Yep. And then the soft bounces, it means that the list can be okay, but the way you send out emails, either you use the content is with spam words, or it's too large, or you have attachments or links, or somehow the spam filter on the recipient side doesn't want to let your message pass through, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So when you use ZeroBounce or any other tools that verifies the email, what is the process? So you basically check each and email address, or how does it work from, you don't need to be very technical about it. Can you give just general idea of how the software works in terms of how it checks the emails, and what does it say? Would it tell you that, okay, you have a good list, or would it tell you that, okay, these are the hard bounce emails, that could be a soft bounce emails, or what is it about?
Sure. So the process, we have two different ways. I'm going to go with the quick and dirty way, which is to upload your list to our platform. We'll take that list and start to process it. And what we do is we actually go out and attempt to do a mail connection to the recipient. We never send mail, just to be clear. We do not violate any policies. We're GDPR compliant, all of that nature. But we go out and try to check to see if the mailbox exists. It's very similar to if you've ever had to type in an address and it kind of tries to autocomplete, but it doesn't find it. If you're maybe filling out for shipping, it's very similar, but it's for email. And so we're actually verifying that mailbox exists. And then what we do is we return the results with statuses and sub-statuses. For the sake of not getting complicated, I'll just stick to status for this, which is going to be valid. These are the ones that we are with 98% confidence are real mailboxes. They exist. And by the way, if anyone tells you they're 100% accurate here, be concerned. It's just impossible. And the other status would be invalid. We are 100% confident that this mailbox does not exist. If you send to it, you will bounce the message. And quite honestly, you're just better off deleting the recipient, or just marking it however you want in your database. But you don't want to mark it to it. It's actually going to work against you. The other statuses that we'll have, which are very important, especially for people that are maybe not expecting your email address, expecting your email campaign, is a category that we call abuse. And these are messages that we're able to flag from recipients that are known in the email world to mark you as spam. And what we do is we kind of call those a toxic email or abusive email. They can be detrimental to your campaign. And the reason is because, like I said, these mail servers talk to each other, and they're talking within their own ecosystem for sure. If enough people are marking you as spam, your message can get moved from inbox to spam. And that can be, again, detrimental to performance. So if we remove a few of those guys, to me, it's all about how many people get into inbox. That's what's going to drive success. And the last one that we would have is we'll identify catchalls. The catchalls can be a little bit complicated. It's the mail server saying we accept email no matter who you send it to. So you might not get the message to the recipient that you're looking for. And we have another system to help with that. But it's common. There's nothing anyone can really do about it besides take a look at them with more detail and try to make determinations around them. But the output that you want to send to from our service is the valid list. That's the one you're going to have the most success with.
What about the catch-all? I still can use them in my campaign, right?
Yeah, you can use them. They're a little bit more risky to send to because you just really don't know the outcome. We have an artificial intelligence scoring system that we built specifically for catchalls. Mm-hmm. We're the only provider out there doing something like that because we tried to solve this issue. And we go out and look for activity on that email address and give you a confidence score of 0 to 10. 10 being we're really confident it's a real email address that exists, and 0 being we just couldn't find anything. So we don't have everything on everyone, but we go ahead and try to give you the best insight as possible. And our 9s and 10s, you will get, we guarantee another 98% deliverability on. So we try to help with that.
How many leads or requests do you guys service every day? Do you have the number in front of you, or maybe you have a dashboard with all of those numbers?
Oh, yeah, for sure. To date, we've served over 4 billion emails. We've processed over 4 billion emails. We've been processing it for about 3 years now. And on a monthly basis, because obviously weekdays and weekends are a little bit, on a monthly basis, we're doing anywhere between 125 to 250 million emails.
125, 150 millions. Okay. What industry do you guys service? What if you look at your clients? And by the way, how many accounts do you guys have right now?
We have about 75,000 accounts on our platform. And the type of customer, actually this is so interesting because I can't narrow one. What I can tell you is a lot of the people that are using us are people that take email marketing very seriously. They take their infrastructure seriously as well. So we have a lot of enterprise Fortune 500 companies on our platform that are very concerned about their IP addresses that they're using on the mail server, and we help protect that for them. So, if your email's real bad, you can get blacklisted, and that would be another reason why you have bounces. Right, would be due to blacklisting. So, using a MailChimp or somebody like that, they're trying to manage that behind the scenes without you worrying about it. But if you actually own your mail server, you need to protect it because it's the lifeblood to your communication, especially right now.
So 75,000 customers. So you have Fortune 500, but like the majority of those customers are like small businesses or just individual entrepreneurs that are doing the cleaning, right? Or you most of them are agencies like Belkins that just happen to to aggregate a lot of data and clean like 100,000 of those requests on the monthly basis.
Yep, agencies, people just collecting data that have a sign-up form on their website. You can integrate us there. So you get the address clean in the first place. I mean, restaurants, insurance companies, car manufacturers, we really have such a wide range of customer base. There's really no customer too large or too small for us, which is really wonderful. And, it's very affordable. If you're just a little guy, we have a free service that helps people get off the ground. And even if you're, to us, when I say small, you have under 5 million records, you're small in our world, but we can help you. And it's not very expensive to do it.
What is minimum monthly subscription?
It's $15 a month. We have a free subscription, which would validate 100 emails per month. The first paid subscription would be 2,000 validations per month, and that would cost you $15.
And what is the average kind of LTV or average ARR per client across the board? So if you said like $15 per month for up to 2,000, but if it's an agency, you're going to be spending at least a few $100s per month, right?
Yeah, a very common purchase amount for us would be like 100,000 records. That would go for about $390 per month.
So $400 per month, and then if it's X12, so it's basically like about up to $5,000 per year, right? Average.
Yeah, and it's not only subscription. If you have a one-time need, we can help you. If you have recurring needs, we can help you. We have a lot of options just because there's so many different variations of customers that need our help. So we cover it. We don't put you in a corner and pressure you to sign up long-term. If you need us once, that's okay. We'll help you. No problem.
So what you are one of those SaaS companies that do a month to month or like a purchase based subscription. So you're not just doing an annual subscription and that's it, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's actually great. I talked to several companies a few last week, and they asked me to, I've said, hey, we wanted to have this software to test it, and it's COVID, so we are very budget friendly or budget cautious or something. And they said, sorry, mate, we just do per year, so you need to, to put $20,000 upfront for that. And I was like, no, sorry, it's not for me.
Yeah,
it's all things considered.
We just don't agree with that perspective. If you wanted to test us, you could test us without talking to anybody. And obviously, we're all here with 24/7 support, account managers available. But you could test us for as little as $15, $16, and really get a good idea of what's going on with your list. And for that type of analysis, with no commitment whatsoever, you really can't lose. What you'll see is the benefits that we can offer.
So how many people do you guys have right now?
We have about 30 employees in total. I have 4 locations, one of them in South Florida. I have another one in Santa Barbara, California, a satellite office in Las Vegas, Nevada, and then I have an office in Bucharest, Romania, and they help service our companies across the globe. So we operate international across the globe, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have live support and people available to either chat or talk to if you need help.
Did you lay anyone off before COVID-19 or after?
No, we did not. Actually, as a company, we're really big on our people. The people are why we are as successful and good as we are today. If you look at our reviews, you look at anything, you'll commonly hear how awesome our support team is and how awesome our team members are. There's obviously the people that interface with customers, and then we have the kind of non-interfacing, all of our dev people, accounting, right? The people that are just not day-to-day with customers. And we just worked so hard to do the right things for people and for the business. And so, one of the nice things that we've been able to do is we've been trying to give back during some of this. We've not laid anyone off. We've not cut any hours. We have had no negative impact to the team. And what we've actually tried to do is help where we can. And so we have some promotions we're trying to help people with, and your team, your listeners are welcome to that as well. And I can provide something for them. But we're also trying to help some of the government agencies that, really are trying to get messaging out right now, donating services there, as well as I'm really proud to say this, we've worked hard to figure out a program. We've actually employed some spouses on the team that have had impact to their jobs during COVID, just so we can help the family make sure that they're okay. And for us, that's just really important. And God forbid something happens health-wise, we put a program in place that we can help them to the best of our abilities with medical, whatever it might be. Just, we really care. And it's scary. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we want to be part of the solution. We don't want to be nothing other than part of solutions.
I wanted to talk more extensively about COVID-19 and your role in the community and what you do, right, to support it. But I wanted to step back and just to confirm something. So obviously, a lot of decisions that you're making right now are decisions that led you to this point in time because of the decision that you did or you have in your business, right? And remind me, how many years you've been in the business so far?
Company was founded in 2015.
Okay.
The product went live in 2017.
So it's been 3 years that you've been kind of selling actively and getting customers, right?
Yes. And we've really exploded, to be honest. And, we're very thankful and happy for that. And we put a lot of hard work and got the right team together to accomplish it. But yeah, it was, the good old tech story, 2 guys in a garage type story, and now we're at 30 with locations everywhere, 24/7 and known as a leader in this space.
So I think that obviously, in SaaS business, right? I mean, your margins are high, so you just need to, to acquire customers and then have a great tech to support those customers, right? And have a great product. So I think that 30 people, but half of the team is probably our developers or engineers or people that are like building the product, correct?
Yep, product and support. Because we stack around the clock.
Okay. Right. And then they've probably been with you since the beginning, right? So probably you're just hiring more and more people, but those that already work with you, they don't basically leave the company. They're still with you. So that all of the folks that you have are the Oldtimers, correct?
Yep. From the dev side, almost everyone has been there since day one, other than the people we've brought on as we've grown. And they've been there as well. For support team, super, thankful. Our support team most of them have been there since day one that we spun up support. So
did you raise any cash so far, any external investment, or you've been bootstrapping?
This has been bootstrapped. We have we're a private entity and funded within.
Okay. I wanted to kind of analyze, the decision that you made, that you did so far, because for example, this, oh my God, I've, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I read on somewhere that the company Bird, this startup out of New York, they were renting scooters or something. So they let like 400 people go via Zoom or something. Did you hear about this story?
I did not hear about that one specifically. I've heard about it.
It was so fucked up. It's like you basically have, so they've been probably, it's with like this startup story when you have an idea and you start building the product and you just start raising the cash and just scale, and you raise more money just to increase your valuation. That's it, right? And they probably ending up hiring like hundreds of people everywhere or in their central location. I don't know. But eventually when the crisis happened, they didn't have any cash to support them. They probably don't have any new sales just because basically, it is, right? A lot of folks haven't been selling a lot during the very beginning, especially when you're dealing with offline. And they end up, losing a lot of people. And I think that, your story is a kind of a best example of how you build the SaaS business right now, right? If you're lean and agile and you have a few people and you just bootstrapping and you just make money, service for customers, and you just hire people as you go, but you always maintain a cash positive, because then when something happens, you have cash in the account, you have your customers, you have a small team, you can always toggle this, adjust your expenses, and you can support the families of your team, and you don't lay off people, and then you can, contribute to the community more. So, I think that's a great example of how you build the software business right now. I'm okay with folks, raising capital, but I think that raising capital and, at the Silicon Valley dream is very overrated right now. Do you agree with me or disagree?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We're having conversations, of course, like, how do we do the right things? But the conversations we're having are just so much different. They're so much better. We're not having the conversation of who do we lay off. We're having the conversation of how do we help families within the team? How do we give back to our community? How do I help the local agencies? Our local cities here are trying to send email blasts out and have never done this. They've never had to do something like this and to issue a stay at home. If you can imagine how old government data might be, they have the same problems. They don't just automatically get the message in the inbox. And that's important. And so, we're helping. It's just the conversations are so much better, especially during, kind of a crisis where businesses are being challenged and email marketing is ramped up so heavily. Actually, we've actually come out on top of this. And that's, again, why we are not just taking and putting in pockets. We are putting in people into our people. We're actually building the product out more. We're actually doubling down right now.
Because more folks are focusing on email marketing, you guys have increased in your clients, right?
And a lot of people just trying to figure it out for the first time. And so we can help you. We have free support. We don't charge people to talk to us. We'll just try to help you. And a lot of people literally have never done email marketing. A lot of restaurants have never done email marketing in their life. And they need to figure something out. How do they get their specials out? They never worked on social. They never built a big presence. And so we're just trying to help. That's what we can do.
That's great. How did you talk to the team? So when all this happens, right, and you go through this crisis with the team, what did you implement something specific for the crisis, like a crisis management kind of solution, or you just had the same drill as you always do? And by the way, what is the process, right? You said that you have multiple locations you probably guys used to work remotely. Did you have the office before this, or you worked remotely the whole time?
We have an office. We like people to come in the office. We think that, about 80% of our team would be in our Boca office in Florida or in Romania. So we just, encourage collaboration and productivity based on that. But we actually have always had, I won't say always, about 6 months ago, we put in a work from home policy. And that was really just to give back to our team. We work relentlessly. Our team members, we don't really have a 9 to 5. We don't have a schedule like that. Our schedule is we have work to do. Let's get it done. And so in order to also help support the team members, we implemented a work from home policy in the US, and that's helped put all the redundancy in place that we need on the system. So our phone system is virtual. All of our messaging system can all be done through a single laptop. You can do it anywhere with zero impact. And so actually, I specifically remember when this was happening here and it was starting to ramp up, everyone's like, are we going to close the office? And I'm like, I'm going to have the conversation today. Let's figure it out. And this was early, by the way. We were early in making these decisions, not late. I spoke to the executive team. We all agreed like, hey, let's do the right thing. Let's put people's safety first. We can work anywhere.
Right.
And it was about 5 p.m. here when we made that decision, and it was implemented that morning. Following day, everyone was working from home. So people take their laptops home, and we worked. We had no interruption of service whatsoever, no impact to service or support. And it's been nice. I'm very thankful that we did all this actually a while ago. We were prepared, but not really mentally prepared. There's been challenges to working from home all day as well, but that's more on the mental side than it is operational.
What kind of process do you guys have in place to work remote-based work to be effective? I mean, do you have a daily stand-ups, weekly calls, weekly company meeting? Do you have any specific for your company process to leverage the remote work, or you just do the standard thing that other companies are doing?
I specifically oversee our sales and support team, and we meet on a daily basis and talk about what's going on, talk about, any issues that we might need to work through, or if somebody needs something, needs help. So communication is really paramount for us. We're also always on messaging. And so we have kind of live messaging that's always happening. We use Skype in order to accomplish that. And, we are holding a company meeting right now once per month. We're really we've always been big on trying to communicate with our employees and, having the supervisors of those teams talking to them on a regular basis. So the only difference has been it's now through a camera versus face-to-face.
Which video platform do you guys use? Are you on Zoom, or you said you Skype, so you can basically Skype to each other, right? Or you have another platform for video calls?
So it's funny because there's so many platforms, and so we're a G Suite customer, Google customer as far as business goes. We just love them. So we use Hangouts specifically, usually for video calls or whatnot, and some meetings, and Skype just because. I'm not actually sure. Now you're making me rethink why we use Skype, but it's a pretty good messaging tool. It's worked pretty good for groups, and it's a little bit better, I think, than Hangouts as far as chat goes. Multiple people.
We also are in G Suite. And why I ask you this, because it's so funny. I mean, there are multiple of those video chat platforms out there, right? And I just cannot get around the idea of why Zoom, increased their database of customers from 10 million to 200 million in like 2 months or 60 days or like 30 days or something, right? It's even though, and I've read this story on Facebook or somewhere that there was a guy that worked for Google that had a meeting on Zoom, and the kid came in and said, "Dad, why are you using Zoom if you have Hangouts or you're in Google or something?" Right? It's so hilarious. And I was like, we also use Hangouts for some of the meetings, and I was like, why we have Zoom if we have a free Hangouts, if we still pay for G Suite, right? The answer is that, because it's all people are using Zoom, and then you use Zoom, right? Even though we have Hangouts, and then why the Hangout? But why, if you have Google has these Hangouts for long now, and they have Google Meet, and now they just have Hangouts, and then it's still not trending, and it's free, and it works fine. I think that, the bottom line is probably the quality of those software and the perks that you have. For example, here I'm talking to you, Brian, and I have this restaurant behind me on the background, right? And I can do that on Zoom or something, right? And I think the quality of the sound, and then you can do a bunch of stuff. For example, you can do webinars here. You can do, you can do one-to-one calls. You can have private rooms and all of that. And, you can do from, your mobile, and then I think that it goes down also to the technology, but also the marketing. So it's weird, how many companies and good video platforms are out there, and everyone is using Zoom just because it's a trend. And even though they do have a nice technology, but you have your Hangouts, which is free, and you can use it, right?
Yeah, it's a good point. Also, maybe something a lot of people don't know. We figured it out a couple of days ago. You can actually record meetings on Hangouts. There's an option. Yeah. Is a deep option in the security settings. I hate to say Google things about Google's products because it just sounds weird, but if you Google it, you can find the path to turn on that setting, and it just uploads it right into your Drive box. it's actually super convenient.
You need to go to the admin setting panel and then just tackle the settings there.
Yep. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people are using Zoom. And I think Hangouts just introduced that not too long ago, but they don't make huge product announcements. You have to
it's weird.
You have to stay on top of them because they do so much.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that they're lacking this. I think that, right now, I think that they will understand this because, folks like Zoom and other, they really basically taking the business from their, hands just because they do it better in their promotion. Or, I think that for Google, I think that they need to better promote and market their products for specific users or customers. If we're talking about, Hangouts or Google Drive or something, so that they can, concentrate more on building their ecosystem. I think that. But thanks for the tip. I definitely going to look at this after we finish this up.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Belkin's Growth Podcast and found it useful. Be sure to subscribe and catch upcoming episodes on iTunes and Stitcher.